Welcome back to Will's Fukery.
Yo.
And it's been like a few weeks now. Will took a trip. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that trip, Will?
So we flew down to Florida and went on a cruise out of Port Canaveral. We did Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, like two other places that were shitholes. But we were on the boat on Thanksgiving, which, like, if you've been on a cruise, like, the food's, like, 24/7, you know what I mean? Like, so it's something people look forward to, but, like, it was the worst fucking Thanksgiving meal. It was fucking terrible. Like, the turkey was fucking shit. The stuffing was, like, soggy-ass bread. It was the worst fucking, like, I mean, it was the fucking worst, yeah.
Thanksgiving meal you ever had, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And
Wow.
I was like all excited, like, cool, if this shit works, this will be like a yearly thing. But the only good thing is they played all three football games outside on the big Lido deck movie screen. So
you get to watch all your games while you were gone.
yeah, so that was good. And I met some fucking really cool people. I don't know the first group of people we met. It was a husband and wife. They were older, but I sat next to them pretty much the whole day. They were watching football, so talking to them, and it was funny because she, like, conversation just started, like, she wouldn't say nothing to me, like, at first, and then, like, once Tracy left and it was just me, then she was like, reached over and was like, oh, like, your tattoos, and like, then we got into this talk, and then it just went from there. But, like, she was like, do you like chocolate covered strawberries? And I was like, yeah. And I guess they've been on so many fucking cruises, that's one of their perks. And she's like, we don't like them, so, like, they gave them to us. Like, they ordered them and brought them out. And then, like, even, like, the next day later, Logan came to the room with, like, this plate of fucking desserts. She's like, hey, this is from the people, like, I couldn't remember their fucking name though to save my life, but where were they initially from? I don't know where they're from, but we talked about it. I want to say Ohio, maybe. Yeah, I think Ohio, because her daughter lived in Ohio too. And then, like, the other group of people, like, the smoking section's pretty fucking small it's getting smaller and smaller every time you go somewhere. But the one smoking section, it had, like, they got tables lined up with, like, 4 chairs. So I was sitting there and somebody just comes by and, like, hey, anybody got these chairs? And then we just start talking. Well, the next couple, I do remember their name, Jeff and Bonnie. They were out of Indiana. Anyways, we started talking kind of like politics, and it was like, maybe, but, like, nah, it was good. So this guy, he's gone through the system as, like, started talking about work, and he used to be a teacher, and then he was a principal, and then he was, like, a superintendent for these counties. Now he said he flies about 8 times a week just to talk to.
Oh, so he's like just one of those speakers then.
Yeah, so now he's fucking just getting paid, like.
Dude, that's wild. That's, like, actually my sister Amanda got offered a job. Now she's in construction, but she's done a lot of, like, what would you call that? Like, she does, like, a lot of Girl Scouts and all this stuff, like, volunteering, and she usually runs a lot of things. But she met these people through some sort of seminar that she went to while she went back to school, and they were trying to hire her to do just that. Like, that's what they do. She went to one of those, and I guess she did, like, some sort of speaking part for this seminar, and there was this married couple that did that, and the guy was trying to hire her to do that pretty much. And
but you don't go. Yeah, but you don't go from a fucking superintendent. I don't care what county you're in. Yeah. So he's getting fucking bank. Yeah. But I mean, like, obviously super educated. So, like, the conversation was amazing. I mean, I probably smoked half a pack of cigarettes just sitting there talking to them, and then it was cool every time. Like, you would see certain people, hi, whatever. But yeah, so like, that was pretty cool. Just meeting different people. Like, there are some people that you meet that, like, as soon as you hear their voice, you're just like, Jesus Christ,
Shut
like,
up.
I'm done smoking, like, fuck this. Like, there was definitely a couple there that was pretty fucking annoying. And they were actually on one of the excursions with us too. And that's kind of like, so we were kind of a little bit back and forth, but nothing. But then they ended up being in the smoking section a lot, and they were just loud and fucking mouthy and like, just shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, besides that, the trip was cool. We went to a place called Monkey Land, and like all these fucking little like 3-pound monkeys were everywhere. I mean, it's pretty much I don't know if they starve these fucking things, but they're like straight savages. Like they just scavengers, you know what I mean? Like they just want, but like it was fucking, I mean, at one point I had like 15 fucking of these little monkeys on me. And
Holy
then,
crap.
yeah, it was definitely cool as shit.
Well, I imagine they probably, like those monkeys, I know in some places of the world where there's a lot of tourism, a lot of those monkeys rely on all the, like, touristy, like, people giving them food and shit, so...
But it's funny because, like, they know the guy that's in the cage with us, like, he is the food guy, right? So, like, they're, like, grabbing him, and he's, like, flinging these fucking, like, you hear him hit the ground, like, poof, like, then they're, like, up on him again, but, that was in Dominican Republic. We did that, and the guy was saying that none of these monkeys are actually from the island. They had brought them in, and it was like a small thing at first, but now like it's ridiculous.
Gotten out of control.
Oh yeah, with the cruise ships that hit this port, and like he said, the amount of money that they make on this, and they've expanded it, and I mean it was pretty cool. I mean it wasn't a cheap deal, but any kind of fucking excursion you book through the
like
cruise ships,
yeah,
they're gonna get their fucking cut too. So usually we don't do excursions. We just I like walking around. I like seeing the place, going probably where I shouldn't go, but yeah, so that was cool. And then
I've always kind of wanted to go on one. I've never been on a cruise, but I've heard a lot about them from other people and friends and stuff. But yeah, I imagine like going to somewhere, like I've heard some stories, like a friend of mine went to Jamaica once with his family, and usually you're supposed to go, like they tell you, like when you
stay
go
on the resort.
Yeah, and they say that if you go outside, only go in the areas in which like their guides will take you, because shit can go bad real quick.
What's funny, you said Jamaica. We went on I don't know where we ported in Jamaica, but we rented a driver. So I wanted to go see where Bob Marley was buried. Plus Lo was small. So it was something that, I mean, she was singing Three Little Birds and shit like that ever since toddler. Plus, I mean, who knows what one of her friends would ever experience that as far as music. So we went there, but we went through some shady fucking places, and even like the guy who's like it'll be okay, we'll get through this, but like he was almost hitting fucking people. He's like, I don't even stop here and I live here, like fuck these people, like all right, fuck them, like let's go. But then we were also in Mexico before, we were venturing around, and finally I asked like a guy that was just sitting on the street, like, what are these guys with all these like fully automatic? And he was pretty much like, if you walk 3 blocks that way, your white ass might not get back on that ship. Yeah, enough said, motherfucker. I'll turn around right here. So, right. But I mean, when we did Puerto Rico, we were able to walk through some like, I guess, slums but like the history there was pretty cool. Just walking through and just seeing like the town itself.
Right. It's nice to kind of like the idea of getting to go like. See, I've done a little traveling, but I've never done like a lot of traveling, especially outside the U.S. I've never been outside of the country before, so like for me, one of my my top places is probably Japan. Like I want to go to Japan, and like I have a few friends that I've known over the years, and one guy that I've been a pen pal with for a long time.
Pen pal. God damn, I
it
haven't
was
heard
like,
that in a long time.
like in high school.
Pal.
It was actually through music. So like we used to put our
Oh, actually, you told me about him last time. Yeah.
punk rock music online on Pure Volume back when that was a thing, with all those other streaming services when they were coming up. And we had our stuff on MySpace back then too and shit. And there was this Japanese like ska punk band called United Skates. And the singer, like, I reached out to them because you couldn't. They're Japanese, but they didn't have anything on the U.S. market, so you couldn't get a hold of any of their music. And you could download the one song they let you download on their website through Pure Volume. So I actually, like, they had an email attached, and I sent the guy an email in English, thinking they'd be able to read English since they were on an American, like, thing. And sure enough, he did. He replied in English and said, I asked him for a CD, and I'd send him money or whatever to get a CD. Not really thinking I was going to ever hear anything back. And they had listened to our tracks, and they friended us on this website that we use for music or whatever, too. And then we started writing letters to each other. And he ended up sending me a CD of his old band, United Skates, and I sent him like a demo of our shitty music then. And then years went by, and talked to this guy. We just kind of like, things, just life kind of happened. A lot happened between the time I was like a sophomore in high school to like graduating and shit. And like I was listening to their music and rotations stuff, but I kind of like stopped writing or whatever. And this guy, I'm sure, was working because he was a little bit older. And it wasn't until probably about 8 or 9 years ago, up here in Hagerstown, when I was living in Hagerstown, that just on the random occasion I was listening to like music and searching shit on Facebook because I was on there then, and I saw that this Japanese ska punk band, a different band, had opened up for like Less Than Jake and had played with like Mustard Plug in Florida. And I was like, and then the name actually popped up, like an interview about that band. So I was just kind of like, oh, well, what's this band? I'm going to listen to this band. What do they sound like? Like, I love Less Than Jake. I like this kind of music.
Right.
And then I saw the name of the guy they were interviewing, and I was like, holy shit, I know this guy. Ended up being
That's my pen pal.
That's my friend, yeah. That's the guy that I used to talk to all the time. So actually, I went to their page on Facebook, friended them, and I was typing in his name to find him. And that's a pretty, like, his first name's pretty common over there. So, like, I looked, but then there was no pictures of it, because had I seen a picture, I probably would have been like, yeah, that's him. But it was like a thing that said, I hate records or whatever. And I was like, well, I know he was a huge vinyl collector. So I reached out, I was like, hey, is this so-and-so from, United Skates and stuff? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's been a long time. How are you doing? Andrew's son and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit, he remembers me,
Did he really do the son shit, or is that just an add-on right here?
No, he
like
did. Andrew's son.
Shit.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. It's part of like their. He just usually we don't even do the whole pleasantries thing. Usually we just kind of like, hey man, how's it going or whatever. But at that time it had been a long time. But yeah, he was like, yeah, that's me. He's like, how are you doing? It's been a long time. We kind of caught up. And we were talking for a while. Like every few weeks we'd reach out. I asked him how he was doing. Well, at this point, I guess he had saved up money over the years, and he runs a record like shop, and then he runs a record label because he's really involved in like their music scene over there for that style of music. So he like actually sets up shows and like pretty much runs the label and like manages a bunch of bands, but then does his own music and his own band. So, like, he's, like, kind of a big deal over there. Like, they've come over, like, it's been a while since they've been back to the U.S., and I'm actually trying to talk him into coming over here and doing a tour with, like, Bumpin' Uglies next year. So he wants to get back over here and bring the band, but I don't know if he's gonna do it or not. But yeah, that's one place I want to go is Japan. It's one of those places I kind of want to like get lost.
Yeah, definitely.
Just
yeah.
And it's just like their culture is so like different and more polite, and like they're quiet. Like it's not normal to meet a very outspoken Japanese like when you're a foreigner, they don't typically like they're friendly. Like businesses and stuff will be friendly, and people like if you ask things of them and they know English, because there's a big misconception that most of them know how to speak English. English is to them is a very hard language to learn. So a lot of them do know because of business, depending on what industry they're in too. But if they don't know English, they won't talk to you. And if you try to speak Japanese, they really like that kind of stuff. But if you like act ignorant and shit, or you're not trying at all, they'll treat you differently. So it's just like one of those places like you gotta be prepared to go there, but like there's a lot of history, and it's just like to me, I mean, I've never been there, but from what I hear, it's really beautiful. There's a lot of places. I'm the kind of guy who likes to get lost out in the countryside anyway. So like going to the big cities, I'm not a city person, but it'd be cool to go to like Tokyo and shit, but there's like normal places people go.
Yeah, I'm like the opposite. Like, dump me in a fucking city somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the city would be cool.
We'll figure it out.
Because there's a lot of cool shit to do there, and it's just such a different, like, from what I've heard and all the research I've done on it, and from what I've heard from other people that have been there, is that it's like, it's completely different. Like, it's if you're a loner, you could really excel there, or you could really hate it. Just depends on, you know, whether you like being around a lot of people or you like being alone, like, and how you like the norms, the social norms there are very different. Like their standards of things like cleanliness and taking care of other people is like they're not as selfish.
Right.
Like their society is very different. So it's like, even though they might bust your chops or not talk to you, or they could come off kind of rude, like it's not like a personal thing. It's just, you know what I mean? It's all about respecting their culture and kind of like taking the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to go over there, but the main reason I choose like cruises just because, I mean, I'm getting like 3 or 4 different stops that I know I probably wouldn't go to, or over the length of time. Like, when would I like? Oh, let me just book this place and stay. The only thing I don't like about cruises is you have this time to this time. Like, get off the boat, you got to be back on the boat. So a lot of the stops that I've been to, you haven't seen like the nightlife of whatever place. And
right. You're not able to experience like everything.
And the one time we were on a place that stayed, I don't think it stayed overnight, but it stayed late. The fucking whole town shut down at like 5:30. Where was that? I think that was Bermuda. So like, I mean, it was cool just because that's their thing. Like, everything shuts down at 5:30. Go be with your family. That's great. When you're touring or when you're a tourist there, yeah, like that fucking sucks. Like, we went to the beach first and then was gonna like, so we went to the beach, then was gonna go back to the ship, change, get cleaned up, shoot over to the town, see what was happening.
Like, you're like, there's nothing.
Nothing. Like, God damn it, maybe we should have went to the town first. But I mean, who knew? We didn't know. Like, yeah. And the only reason we figured it out, I mean, there was a woman, I guess I looked fucking lost, and she was like, oh no, and then she explained, and I was like, well, that sucks just because we're here, but like, that's awesome. Like, that shit would never happen here. Like, right. We're not shutting down at 5:30 to fucking go be with your family.
I feel like a lot of our customs, like the things in our country, like all the traditions and like values and morals that used to be the normal here have changed too. It's become more of a, I mean, a lot of people are big on the whole taking Sunday off for like church and stuff, which is good in a sense. Like, it is a holy day. should be spending time with your family. That's a day for rest anyway.
That's a day for football. Fuck Chick-fil-A. Yeah, open up and fucking...
Right. Feed me and then let me go watch my game.
Yeah.
But I feel like the whole, like, the retail thing, the instant gratification and that, like, even, like, right now, like, during Thanksgiving, Black Friday and stuff, like, I haven't gone Black Friday shopping in many years. And then I used to work on retail. So for me, it's like, I used to dread doing Black Friday just because of not just the craziness of the retail experience, especially when you're working in retail, but just people.
I fucking love Black Friday.
Like, you know, prices, like...
No, just the fucking craziness.
But I didn't like that shit.
I fucking loved it.
You see the worst of people.
I loved it.
Like, and that made me hate retail. It made me hate coming to work on Black Friday, and while I could be with my family or resting, you know. And then, like... Now after COVID, they changed all that shit. Like Walmart and all those businesses used to be open 24 hours.
Well, even before
That's
they changed it,
now.
Even before they changed it, it's a lot peaceful now. I mean, it used to be fucking
crazy and hectic.
Fuck yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, or people be trampled,
just the fucking
killed, beaten,
it was
and
awesome.
People arguing over shit.
So like the first time I experienced that, I was like 17, and my cousin had 2 younger daughters at the time, and she needed these fucking baby dolls at Walmart. So like we walked around, and she like, stay here. Like, okay. She's like, these dolls right here, you need 2 of them. All right, like it's not a big deal. So like I grabbed the first one, and like whew, somebody took it out of my hand. I was like, what the fuck? So I did it again, and like then I started seeing the madness just around me, and I was like, oh, this is what this is about. I fucking loved it. And then like even when I did security at Best Buy, I had to work it, and that was just fucking amazing too. Like, but I mean, Best Buy wasn't pressing the issue. They said if I caught anybody stealing, like, just get them out. Like, don't make a big ordeal. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. No, see, so. I used to, it's funny you said that because I used to do the AP as well for Best Buy for a short time. I kind of was a jack of all trades, so I would do like merchandising, and then I got into inventory, and usually when we didn't have an AP guy, they would put me up there most of the time. So there were a few times, but the store I worked at, what they would do is get with the local like police department, and the guys who weren't on the clock working, they would hire them to come in, and they asked for permission obviously, but they would hire off-duty cops to come in uniform, and the cops really wouldn't do shit. They'd be just standing there for presence, and you know, just making it look like they were. Yeah,
but I mean, even Best Buy has a policy. They were just
yeah, they can't do shit
at that point.
To
just get them the fuck out of the store. Like.
Yeah, they can't do shit to you anyway, because they're afraid of the lawsuits and the legality of all that shit. We used to get boosters coming in, like a team of random people that you wouldn't think would be hanging with each other. They were like professional thieves. They would come in. You would have you'd be like you'd have an Asian woman with like some older looking white dude, like a guy who looked like he was on his deathbed with a walker.
Yeah.
Walking around different areas of the store. Like you would, because we used to hear about these groups a lot, so we'd get photos of some of the people in the teams or whatever. But you would get these people, and they'd all be stealing from you, and they'd be distracting parts, and they'd kind of meet up. They had game plans. And there was a time when I worked in Frederick at Best Buy, and it was during the summer. And I remember I was catching this guy because I was running AP at the time, but I wasn't the AP guy. I was a merchandiser, just kind of taking over the break for the AP guy. And I was like, well, that's weird. I noticed this shit, like this person's acting weird, and they just bolted out the door. So I went chasing after him, and we weren't supposed to.
Right.
I chased his ass all the way down to the Walmart from that Best Buy, which is probably like, I don't know, it's about maybe a mile away if you're like running. But I booked it. Like I was running full speed after this motherfucker. Finally, like we're getting through the parking lot of Walmart about a mile away, and he jumps into a car. This guy in a van pulls up, opens the door. The dude jumps in, and they threatened that they were going to kill me. Like if I, right before he jumped into the van, like he was like, get back, I'll fucking kill you. And Sure enough, they sped off. The cops already knew they were just getting there at the store while I was running down there. Because the guy, like, and then when I got back to work, my manager told me don't ever do that again.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't get fired.
Yeah.
Best Buy was kind of weird about some of that shit.
They were weird about it, but they had never experienced anything on that level like that at that time, like at that store. So...
Was that the first time you had anyone like you were gonna catch stealing, or?
No, I had caught people before. Like same store, I caught like this old guy came in, and I was actually merchandising that day. I was working back in the computer department. Now the store, like the layout, I don't know what it's like now, but I know it's changed a lot of times since I've been there. Because I knew people that worked there a long time. In fact, there are people I started working with that are, I think, still at that store, like their managers and shit. They're still there. But the store changed a lot. But there was in their computer section, I was doing signage and restocking shelves. And I was kind of like up on this Big Joe, like, because I was pulling things off from the top shelves and shit and bringing stuff down to the floor when we would have overstock up there. And while I was on the Big Joe, I saw this guy lifting one of the lower shelves, because Best Buy has these like hollow fucking shelving at the bottom, which is dumb, really, like, because then you can't see if there's anything under there the way they have it set up. The dude lifted the thing up, and I heard it, and I was like, man, those things are a fucking pain in the ass to put in there. Why the fuck's this guy like lifting that thing up? So he kind of like scattered off or whatever. I figured maybe his leg had caught it, like the edge of the little shelf, and pulled it up. So I go down there, I'm like looking at it because I'm like, fuck, it's all popped up and shit. So I gotta lift it up, and I see it's like printer cartridges, like the box and the plastic. And the dude ripped the cartridge out and threw the package in there. I was like, well, what the fuck, man? That's like a $50 fucking cartridge.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta take this up front. The protocol was you kind of notify like them where you found it, what time, and that kind of shit, so they can make a report. But I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that guy just did that. That's where that guy was standing. So I took it up and kind of like rushed up there as this guy was kind of scattering up there. I walked a different route, and my manager just happened to be at the AP desk talking to the AP, and I was like, hey man, I just caught this guy stealing. Like, I was back there, I saw him, I was on the Big Joe. I heard him, I didn't see him physically open the package, but he had slammed that shelving unit. I was like, and when I lifted it up, when I went down there, because it was off all of a sudden, I was like, the packaging's down there. This guy just stole from us. So before he could even get to the door, my boss was like, are you sure?
Yeah, you got 100%.
And I was like, dude, I'm 100% sure. Like, this is the package. Like, you need to stop that guy. And my boss kind of waited up there, like waited as he was walking by as if he was going to go out the door. And I didn't think my boss was going to say anything, but he did. He stopped the guy. And then, like, I was like, sir, I need you to empty your pockets. And the guy started fucking shaking. Like, his arms started shaking violently and stuff. Like, he was fucking nervous.
Right.
So he got caught. He gave us back the cartridge, right? He had brought one from home, like in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, and was saying, I didn't steal it. No, this is the one from home. And it was like, well, explain this packaging. Oh, this happens to be the exact same
fucking
cartridge.
Number, right?
And the cap's still on this cartridge in the bag. It's a brand new cartridge. So he's like, he's like, I'm not looking. I don't know why, but my boss didn't take pity on him, and I guess maybe it was because of that being sure thing and not having like any video evidence other than my word, that he didn't call the cops on the guy. I mean, it was a $50 thing anyway. The cops would have done nothing probably. Right. Maybe banned him from the store or whatever. But he literally told him, he just goes, look, I'm not gonna call the cops. Give me the cartridge, right, and get the fuck out of here. And he's like, and don't let me see you in here again.
That was like the most fucking boring job I've ever had. But like when I would catch somebody, that shit would
gave
just...
you like adrenaline
Oh
rush.
my God, yeah. Like I still remember the first fucking... like I remember, I'll tell it real quick, but it was a couple females that were in the store, and like I was following them. They were just like, one just kept... From that AP desk right there by the door, like those Best Buy shelves aren't that high, so you can pretty much make eye contact, and the eye contact, they just kept like they were guilty.
Yeah.
So then they
look around. Usually they'll look up at you to see what you're doing.
Right.
That's how you know.
So I mean, every camera they went to, I followed them, and like then I started seeing there was a bigger girl that was with them, and she was just grabbing shit, and I was like, no fucking way. So I called my boss, and I was like, hey, I got her. Like, I'm yanking her if she gets close to the door. And they're like, all right, like, don't be physical. Like, just because by then, like, this was my first one. Like, I did a good job. Like, right. So she came up, and her friends kind of, like, blocked me. And it was funny because there was an older woman with her, and she kind of went, she was closest to me. And then the other girls tried to go this way. Well, I kind of tucked around her, and I was like, you're not going anywhere. Like, step over here. Shit got loud. But, like, I took her into the office because we had a little office right there by the main entrance. Actually, it's the Best Buy office, Shady Grove Road. And I was like, look, I caught you. Just give me the shit. And, like, this fucking bitch threw her bag at me. So, like, I opened, and it's a big fucking, like, a beach bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to go through your shit. Like, tell me what's ours. And she was like, no, you can go through it. Every fucking thing in this beach bag was Best Buy shit. Like, this bitch came in with an empty fucking bag.
And just started loading up.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know. We had a manager that was pretty cool. He got transferred down to Virginia. Well, he texted me and was like, oh, good job, already here. You got your first one, blah, blah, blah. So, like, I'm out. Like, I got her sitting in the office waiting for the cops to come. I'm like, I got that fat bitch. Right? So my manager's like, whoa, 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 you gotta calm the fuck down. Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like, I'm just going off, like, but, because, I mean, I knew their security team, like, sucked before. And then, like, they brought in, like, one guy, then another guy, and I was, like, the third one. So it was just the three of us, but... Even people that would come in there, they'd be like, oh, like, you actually got security here now. Like, you can tell.
Right.
Like, but, yeah, I was so fucking, like, geeked up when I caught that bitch.
Dude, I remember the first, like, when I got... That old guy was, like, one of the ones, like, I didn't anticipate on getting. Because it wasn't running the desk. But there had been a few. There was a guy who came when I was in Hagerstown. And it's so different now because, like, I don't work at Best Buy anymore. It's been a long time, but, like, we used to have a lot of employees.
Yeah.
Like, you walk into a Best Buy now, it's almost like they don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's dead.
The company
Best
is
Buy is
different.
just dying, I feel.
Yeah, because you walk into the store, and there's maybe, like, actually, like, with Geek Squad and everybody, there's less than 10 people in there all the time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty dead.
Yeah, but even with that little bit of staff, it's still more staff than people shopping. I feel every Best Buy I go into now is dead empty as fuck. Yeah, right. Like,
and I don't know if it's because a lot of the online stuff too. Like, you can still order to pick things up, but that has changed the business so much that, like, I can't imagine they get people running in there stealing shit all the time. I mean, maybe over in California, but not like, you know.
I mean, people steal. I mean, fuck,
right.
Even like
I'm
companies
sure
are pulling out of DC. Like, they're keeping fucking paper towels and shit in the back now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, normal shit that you normally wouldn't lock up is being locked up now.
Yeah. I mean, even Walmart, like local Walmarts, they...
Yeah, like the whole... I remember hearing about the Tide and all that.
Yeah.
Like, the fucking people were stealing that and then selling it.
But, I mean, there was a guy on the news, they were asking him, and he was like, yeah, like, if I can buy Tide, whatever, on the street for a couple dollars less...
Why would I go to the store and spend all of that money?
Right, with how money is, true. How shit is now. Yeah,
True.
I don't ask questions. I'll buy stolen shit. I don't give a fuck. Like,
right. To me, I just, well, a lot of that comes down to corporate greed, though. But that's, I mean, look at the way, I don't want to get into politics, but let's just look at the way the country's being run. I mean, corporations have more of a leadway into what we will do,
right,
policy-wise in the next 10 to 20 years than the people do, right? Our government's sold us out to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So they already tax us and get our money, but they're making deals to,
Oh, they're getting their money. Yeah,
right.
that's all that fucking
that's all
matters.
they fucking care about. So.
Yeah. So. But yeah.
Yeah, working for Best Buy, man. God, I spent about 8 or 9 years working for them. I had 3 different locations. I spent 2 years. The last one I worked at was in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was a delivery driver then. I was doing appliances and shit. I was really good at it. I hated the job, but I loved it because I wasn't in the store. I was going to people's houses. I used to, cold calling people was weird for me because I didn't like talking on the phone with strangers and shit. So for me, I'd be like, this is your delivery time, give me a call back, that sort of thing. And I started getting better about like developing those skills while I was there. But yeah.
Yeah, I liked retail. Well, I mean,
parts of the retail. I didn't like the selling part of it. That's why I stayed out of sales. I went to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Which is funny because my wife also worked for Best Buy. That's where I met her. And she was a sales. She didn't like the mobile shit. But the weird part of that is she'll talk to me about retail shit now because she runs, a store for another company. And she'll talk about shit every day on the phone. Like, she'll call me to gossip about the stuff that's going on at her job. And I'm like, I really don't care about your stupid shit. But I'll listen to you because I love you and I know you want to vent to somebody. And she'll talk to me about this stuff. And I think she's kind of surprised by some of the shit that I know, like, sales-wise. Like, she'll mention certain things about their job and the shit that people are fucking up. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can see why you'd be upset about that because you really should be doing this instead of that. Like, that's just common sense. And she'd be like, well, she's like, why aren't you in sales? Because, like, I mean, she's like, you never really did, like, sales. And I was like, I'm also not a fucking moron, It's like, but like, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. Over the years, I think the best retail place I worked for, and I know a lot of people hate them, but like Target was amazing to me as a.
I never, that was one of the places I wanted to work. Like when I was in high school, I had a friend who worked at Target, and I think he was just a stalker or whatever, because he was a clown. Like
yeah.
he was always one of those guys that caused a lot of mayhem and shit. But and that's what he was known for. Like people loved that about him. But because he worked there, I wanted to work there. It just seemed like a cool place to be.
Yeah, I did definitely enjoy it. I mean, they even sent me shit. They sent me down like south to train people on like the back room, and I started like a couple months before that. But I mean, it's not hard shit. You know what I mean?
Right. It's really like a motivation thing. Like, organization helps with a lot of that kind of inventory stuff. It's about knowing the process and you're just fucking doing it.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that I got a bad taste of, and it's not even through the company. It was the next higher up, which would have been my promotion. He was leaving. One of the managers asked him, "Oh, would you think William would be good in this position?" And he said, "William doesn't want it. He's looking for another fucking job anyway." So they took that instead of coming to me. I was looking for another job just because.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, I could have probably stayed with fucking retail, and who knows what it would have been, because fuck, that was...
Right.
I helped open that store, so that store's been open for, 20-some years?
Yeah.
So...
It could have led you into like a management role and eventually a district position. You just never know. I mean, shit, that's what happened with my brother. He worked for Best Buy a long time, was going to college. He was a supervisor, I think, and then they made him a manager while he was still in college. He was commuting down the road, living on campus, but going to work every day. I don't know how he managed to do all that, but then they opened the store in Hagerstown, and he transferred, and he was one of the managers to open that store. And then he opened his own as a general manager down in Winchester, Virginia. So he stayed with the company a long time and transferred. around and shit. And then he worked for Dick's Sporting Goods and opened a few stores. And then he would go to he became one of those guys who would go to problem stores. Like they would send him to fix stores that used to be really profitable.
Shitty. Oh, okay.
And they got shitty, and then they wanted him to turn them around, and he would. But then he got stuck being that guy every time to go clean house and fix things. And he really wanted to be on a district level. And he'd been in retail. I mean, he's been in retail forever. And now I think he's working for Amazon. He was down the road in Baltimore now. I think he's up in Hagerstown running some sort of satellite facility for them. But I think because he was in, I know for a while, like being in that, like had you stayed in Target, I think that once you get into that management position, a lot of those guys get stuck in that thing that's all they've ever known.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, like, I loved my job in retail, but I knew it's not where I wanted to stay. I kind of wanted to learn, like, as many different industries and jobs as I could because I didn't want to be stuck or feel trapped. And I think that's kind of what happened to my brother is he was like, I mean, he was great at what he did, and people knew him, and he networked, so he knew a lot of people that used to work for the same company, left and worked for other companies, and they'd always like hit him up and offer him jobs or say, hey, why don't you come, you know, and get your foot in the door, you're gonna flourish here, like. But he was always afraid to make that jump because it's like there were times like where he was discouraged where he's like, I feel like I'm overqualified to do a lot of this shit and I'm not happy doing this stuff. And he's like, but I'm afraid to leave this because this is all I've ever known.
Right.
So
yeah, but I feel like no matter what job you take on, you get to a point that you almost get stuck.
Right. Well, you've got a certain set of skills, and it's like, I feel like, I don't know, just work in general. A lot of these companies, things are very different. Like when our parents were growing up and working, like I feel like they were still living in that time where like you could go work for one company out of high school, be there for 40 years, and the company would have taken care of you.
Right.
They were loyal then. And, as long as you came to work, did your job, and you were loyal to them, they were loyal and good to you. Nowadays, we're treated like we're cattle. We're just numbers. Money doesn't mean shit. They need production. That's all companies seem to worry about now is like, we need people to show up. We need people to do the job. We need to make this shit, make the money we gotta make, and if they don't work out, we'll just hire some other guy. The problem, I think, now is we're in a weird period of time where our generations are like the workers. Like we used to catch a lot of shit from the boomers and everybody else, but now you've got these younger generations, and they all call them lazy and shit. The same stuff they did to our generation, right? But in a sense, I think some of that generation's smarter too because they're learning from our mistakes. Like, I don't think they're all dumb. I think there are, in every generation you've got dumb people and lazy people, but this younger generation is not willing to sacrifice all that time and all that energy that we've sacrificed to get nothing out of it, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't necessarily say that we're not getting anything out of it. Like, I've developed my skills. I get paid more money now, but I've worked my ass off to make what I make at my job. Whereas a lot of these kids coming out of high school now don't have any education shit. They're coming in making like $20 an hour for their first job. And I'm like, motherfucker, my first job was like $6 an hour.
Yeah, but now there's also motherfuckers that need to hang up their fucking coat that aren't doing
true.
shit.
That's true. There are a lot of people at my place like that.
Because shit rolls downhill, so it'll still get taken care of. It's just a matter of who's going to step up and take care of it. And there's no
drive and motivation anymore to like, I don't know. I feel like some people get like my company. We're a union company, and there's guys in there. They're big on seniority, which I'm all about. I think it's cool, but it's also like a double-edged sword too, because then you've got people who've been in there for like 20, 30 years that haven't done shit for that 20, 30 years. Yeah. And if a job opens up and I want to get promoted and I go to apply for the job and I'm really the guy that they want to promote, if the other guy goes and goes, hey, I want to fuck this guy, I'm going to apply for that job, he would get it over me. And I'm like, okay, he's got seniority, whatever, but if it's a guy who hasn't done shit for 20 years and then has that seniority but yet hasn't really earned the right, like the whole time he's one of those guys that comes in, fucks around, isn't a company guy, doesn't want to do shit, he is always talking shit about everybody else, like that's kind of fucked up. Like I'm the kind of guy, I'll go to work, like I'm not the world's friendliest guy, like I'll talk to people, I've been friendly, but it's always kind of like I've always gotten targeted for shit like that, right? So for me, it's like I go to work, I'm pretty quiet. I say shit only when I need to say shit. I ask questions only when I need to ask. But I come in, I do my job. I pretty much keep to myself. If I see opportunities to help people, like I'll do it, and that's it. But I really kind of keep to myself. I come in, I do my shit, and I go home. And when I do it well. Like, you know, people don't have to ask me to do shit. I'm always busy. Nobody says anything.
Yeah.
Because they know I can come in and just, I'm a machine. I just do my fucking shit.
I don't know. The thing that fucking just irks me, like, you're here for 8 hours a fucking day. Do some work.
Right.
Like, don't.
The way I see it is if I'm gonna work, they're paying me to do a job. I'm gonna do the job. And if I'm gonna do the job, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. I think just within the last few years, though, I have less fucks to give. So there's moments where I've been burnt out, where I've worked really hard, and I feel like they have taken advantage of me because they know how I am as a worker. Like I bust my ass, and I do it. And the few opportunities I've kind of reached out to try to get, promotions or things I've kind of gotten forgotten about, or like, no, we're not going to do that because even though you'd be great for that, we really need you there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that. So I will say that I've had to change, like, mentally at my current job to, like, survive. I've had to kind of become an asshole. That job has pretty much changed me as a person completely because of all the shit that I've had to go through there to survive and, like, deal with other people and kind of, like, get to the position I've gotten. And it's kind of where I'm stuck. Like, I'm right now, I like what I do. I'm good at what I do. The place is very toxic, like most jobs are for most people. But I also have never made this amount of money before either. And I feel like for me to make the money I'm making now, because I've been looking for jobs, this is something I do all the time anyway, because curiosity
Yeah.
about it. But I look, and most of these places that are paying what I'm making to start, they want you to have like a sort of a bachelor's or associate's degree or so many years in that type of field or industry experience. And I'm just like, well, fuck. Half the time you can't even get your foot in the door to get experience anywhere because they want you to have a degree to get in there. Yeah. So I feel like I'm kind of like I'm kind of trapped.
There we go. Full circle.
Yeah, kind of trapped. But
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I fucking hate lazy people. And
me too, man.
But definitely if you're in a leadership position, fucking step up and be the leader. Don't be a fucking douchebag. Like, I get it. This shit's gonna always roll down the hill, but at the same point, do your fucking job. Like, this isn't old fucking days where...
Right. And I feel like there are a lot of people who get overlooked that are good managers. Like, most good managers don't end up managing forever. Usually they end up leaving because they're the ones carrying the weight of all the fucking people who are lazy.
Right.
And then, like, the people always respect those people. Like, because usually when you've got a good manager, typically the relationship with the employees is better too. Because he's like, look, they're workers just like me. Like, I was once where you were, and this is what I did to get here, and, you help me out, I help you out. Like, you do what you're been hired to do. Like, your job as a manager is to really develop your team, right? And when they make mistakes, it's not always about disciplinary, but it's about correcting bad behaviors or training better behaviors if they don't know. You know what I mean? And I feel like there are a lot of these fucking lazy people that's like, oh, discipline.
Well, it's not even
or
that.
Or they don't care at all.
If somebody fucks up, it's not a point of going to a higher up and saying this was this person's fuck up. Like,
right.
No, at the end of the day, you're their fucking manager. That's on you.
Right. It
what
falls
can
back
you
on
do to improve that
them.
This shit doesn't happen again?
Right. You got to develop them and
right.
train them.
So, but if you're
them.
a fucking idiot, I mean, it's wash, rinse, repeat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna
like,
keep happening.
Yeah. But certain people don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And I'm sure this is every fucking job out there. You know what I mean? I'm sure somebody has the same shit.
Shit, man, I can already think of a few people.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, people are just fucking worthless.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been swallowed.
Right.
So
that would do us a lot of good. There are a lot of people like that. Shit. Like, I don't know, man. Retail was fucking great. That was
the only thing that sucked about retail was the fucking hours. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's nice.
You had to work weekends and shit. Like, the
and
great
evenings
thing,
and shit
right.
like that. But I don't know. I know people who do it now.
The work was so easy though.
Yeah,
man. And there was this like culture about it. Like, the people you worked with, you didn't necessarily have to like everybody you worked with, but people got along.
Yeah, but I feel like even at retail, like, if you're closing, couple people get together, go have a drink, or you know what I mean? They hang out.
Go out after work.
Like, I work Monday through Friday. I don't see any of these fucking people. Not saying like there's a bunch of them that I want to hang with. Like,
right.
I talk to a couple coworkers outside of work, but it's not like a happy hour type shit. You know what I mean? It's,
right.
So.
Well, shit, the retail thing was though. We used to.
Fuck yeah, the retail thing was.
We used to go out to the bars after work, or we would go to somebody's house and have a party, or we would all get together, we'd play video games and get high and shit.
Yeah, I mean, the same with like the restaurant.
Right.
I mean, we would all hang out too. Yeah, it was just cool. I mean.
Yeah, I feel like that part of, like, I'm sure stuff like that still happens now.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I don't think it happens like. The nostalgia that we know of that shit is probably not the same for the kids growing up now. Like, things are so different.
Yeah.
Like, even their views on that sort of like experience is different. Like, yeah. I don't know. And more of them now, I've noticed, like, this younger generation now too, like, a lot of them don't want to get licenses. It's almost like they're living at home and they don't want to leave. Like, they're afraid to go experience the world. And I don't know if that's because of the way our, like, everything's so instant and need to know now. I don't know if it's like a education thing or, I mean, because this has been going on even before the pandemic, but it's just weird. It's like, I've got a niece who lives at home and she doesn't have a license, and she has a car but has no license, has no, like,
has a car, but no license.
Yeah, so she's been given a car.
Oh.
Like, her mom had another car and gave it to her. But she has no license. She's gotten a driver's permit like twice because it expired. We took her back to get it. And she had a job, quit that job. It was only for a few months. And then she got another job that she worked because her mom used to work at this company. And she worked there as, like, a cleaning person for a while. And I think she's going to be, like, I think she's 24 now. She'll be 25 this coming year. And I'm just like, that's crazy, man. Like, I had a license when I was, like, 17. Like, right before I turned 18, I got my license.
Yeah.
Like, because I had my shit long enough. And, like, I was wanting to get the fuck out of my parents' house. So having that car and I was fortunate enough to have a car my parents provided me with. Eventually I bought it off of them and all that shit, but we had to pay the insurance and all that stuff, whereas most of the kids I knew growing up, their parents just gave them whatever, and then they were working, but part-time jobs. I was working full-time while in high school.
Well, I know I didn't get my license until I was 18 because I couldn't afford like the driver's ed, and nobody was going to help me with that. So
right.
At least when I turned 18, all I had to do was take the drug and alcohol course, little class with taught by some fucking dopehead hippie that was like, it was fine, but you know what I mean? So like, if you didn't have that chance just to get shit, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a big deal. I knew people who drove it. It was what it was, but
it is different because for me, like, we were provided a lot of that stuff. Like, our parents kind of set us up, whereas in your situation, you really didn't have that kind of luxury to. So it's probably much harder for you then to get the license and kind of just be prepared to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
no point of crying over spilled milk.
No, but I mean,
because fuck, I mean, I've once I did get my license, I was dropped by multiple insurance companies for dumb shit. So I could only imagine if I was like a younger kid, how fucked I probably would have been, just being stupid.
I think the cost of it now probably, well, obviously, is probably more.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But to me, like, and it was affordable then. But I think for me, it's like the freedom of being able to just get in your car and drive. Now, granted, gas wasn't nearly as expensive as it is now, but just being able to get the hell out of the house and just drive or go hang out with your friend or just not be like, shit, man, I used to just go and like explore. I would get in the car and just drive roads that I normally wouldn't drive on, just keep going.
Yeah, those are called blunt rides, right?
Yeah, like the cut rides. Yeah, cut rides. No, I used to do that shit too.
Get off these main roads and smoke this joint.
Yeah, well, I used to do that shit too, but that was mainly after high school. During high school, I didn't really do too much of that. And my experiences started after high school. I was weird because I was afraid. Like, I grew up, you know, my family was religious, but I kind of grew up not, I don't know, believing that, like, you shouldn't get married before having sex and shit like that. Like, I was really, like, those things were distilled so hard into my brain as a kid that, like, questioning anything outside of, like, I wasn't dumb, and I like to question things, but there were certain things that I was raised up on that I didn't want to push. Like, just because I thought, I don't know, for whatever reason, I would be crossing the red line. And like in my mind, so I never really pushed it, and then I started realizing like my life was a lie. Like at the end of high school, it was like, you know, I've always done the right things. I've always avoided like I had friends who used to party in high school. I was always invited. I would go to things, and then I was the first one out because I was like, shit would get crazy. I could drink, but I didn't really want to. I was focused on music stuff and hanging out with people, but shit would always get crazy with some of the guys I hung out with. So for me, I would I'd show up just to be a presence and be like, hey, how's it going? Cool, it's good to see you. Hey, let's catch up. And then I'd be the first one to dip out. Because I was also working a lot too. So
Andrew's a bitch.
I was always.
I'm not trying to get in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get in trouble. Well, you understand. Most of my friends were always getting arrested and shit. Like, I was the good kid, right? But I was also like, when it came to them, see, a lot of them, for me, I was always the most reliable one there too. Like, if somebody needed something, I was there. Friend got arrested and he needed somebody to pick him up from jail, I was there. Like, I was always the one they would call when they needed shit because they know that I would show up.
Right.
They knew that I'd be there for him no matter what. Same guy who had me pick him up out of jail, like, he had a drug problem for a while. And this was years later. Like, I got out of high school. I was living in Frederick with some other friends and shit. We had a house party during that time, but one of my close friends that I was getting like our weed and shit from, because I sold for a little bit, I stopped because the guy I was getting my shit from got like busted, so I kind of like stopped for a while. And my friend was like on pills and all this other shit, kind of dabbling in, and I didn't ask, but I know he was probably into heroin and shit too. But I knew he was in a bad place. Well, I was getting stuff from him, like weed from him and shit. And I went there one time just to kind of like get the shit that I paid for. And I would just go in, say, hey, we talked for a few minutes, and I would leave. And this was somebody I was a friend with, like, all throughout middle school into high school. But, like, he would always kind of, like, he was part of that party crowd. And he knew I wasn't all about that shit. So, like, he was the more respectful one, whereas he'd be like, all right, man, this isn't his thing. He'd be like, yeah, I mean, you probably should get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this one moment I went to get this shit from him, and like he had everybody else leave. And it was just me and him because for whatever reason, he needed to like talk to me about shit. And I think he was just at a point where he felt like he needed to get help or he needed to talk to somebody he could trust because he was in too deep. And he knew that he was going to end up killing like himself, like through the drugs had he not gotten help. And for whatever reason, I always tried. Like I was like, well, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, right? But I don't like it. I don't like seeing you the way you are, and I know something's up. But you are your own person. Like I can't.
Right.
I can tell you what I think. You might like it or you might not like it, but I'm not you. I can't make those decisions, and you're the one who's got to do the work. And sure enough, now I haven't talked to this guy since that night, really. I haven't kept in contact, nothing, but I know he's married now. He got clean.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, he got married. He has a daughter and shit. He moved back to the town that we grew up in. And, yeah. He must be doing pretty well. We have a mutual friend who I'm closer to, but they communicate, I guess, and he seems to be doing pretty well. So I'm glad he kind of turned his shit around. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Will's Fukery.